What's up guys, Jared Friends, Merritt Moco. We are a dry ice blasting, dry ice preservation firm located just outside Charlotte, North Carolina, and we use dry ice to clean vehicles. Now, that may sound a little different to some people, but we actually take pelletized dry ice, run it through a specialized machine. That allows us to clean the surface of virtually any type of surface, dirt, contamination, grease buildup, anything that's laying on top of the surface, and be able to eliminate that without hurting the underlying surface. And so if you followed along with us for a little bit, you've noticed that we're always shooting videos of different client cars that we have in the different areas that we're cleaning. And that kind of led us down a little path of thinking, man, I wonder what else is outside of just the opportunity of cleaning someone's vehicle, right? So someone drops something off and we're under this time constraint to clean it, but what if we had a little bit more time and we could find something that was really cool, really unique, or maybe not unique at all, but really dirty, and something that could evoke some type of emotion in all of us that we can all relate to and be able to document through a little mini series of cleaning that car from top to bottom. And I mean cleaning the paint, cleaning the motor aspects, cleaning old fuel lines, cleaning rubber brake lines, cleaning the window seals and everything in between. All the little areas that you guys always ask when you call, hey, can dry ice clean this piece of my car? Well, we're gonna show you guys in true living color that we are able to clean that. So in that search of looking for that perfect car, or rather imperfect car, I called up my buddy Tom Cotter. Tom is this really, really special individual, and if you guys don't know who Tom Cotter is, he's definitely worth a Google. He is the Barnfind hunter. So Tom travels the country shooting with Hagerty, in partnership with Hagerty Insurance, who of course insures all of our classic vehicles, and he will find these cars that have been stowed away for years upon years, and he pulls them out and sometimes breathes new life into them, or maybe just sends them through an auction, or just tells the story of what this car is and helps bring a little bit of exposure to a car that's been otherwise forgotten about, lost to the pages of history. So who better person could I call than my buddy Tom? And so I said, Tom, dude, you have to have something kicking around. What do you have? And he thought about it for a little while, and he said, come on over. I want to take you to my mill, Gibson Mill, which is located in Concord, North Carolina, and I want to show you a Datsun 510 that I have. I think it's exactly what you guys are looking for. So I go over there one morning to a little Cars and Coffee event he has that occurs every month, and after the event expires, we walk through this labyrinth. I felt like we were never going to get to where we're going, into this dungy, low-ceilinged warehouse. And he says, there's the Datsun, it's over there in the corner. And as we're snaking through to get to this Datsun, I stopped dead in my tracks and I said, Tom, what is this? Yeah, don't worry about that. That's a car that I bought brand new to travel around. When I first started my PR firm and was working with NASCAR, I would travel around in this car because I couldn't afford plane tickets. And I was like, okay, so do you still own this car? Like, who's this? Yeah, I own it. It's been stored in here for like 20 years. Okay. And the more I started looking at this car, I knew this is the car we have to shoot. And it's something that many of you probably aren't going to expect, based off some of the other content we're always working on, a Porsche, or we've got, early Ferrari, or we've done Maseratis, Jaguars. This car is able to keep pace with all of those cars in terms of collectability, but in my eyes, it's probably one of the coolest projects that we've had, and it was locally sourced through a good friend of ours, and we're going to hopefully take you guys on a really rad journey where we're able to show you the capabilities of dry ice, the capabilities of somebody who's very well versed in the technology of dry ice, and how we're able to apply that to be able to preserve a car without restoring it. So we're not removing nuts and bolts. We're not blowing fuel lines apart. We're going to take and clean everything in place. So no matter where the direction of this car goes, they have a clean baseline to start when they bring this car back to its former glory. And I know you're gonna wanna stick around because this is a super, super rad mini-series that we're gonna shoot, and you guys are gonna love it. You guys have listened to me ramble on in my nasally voice entirely too long. The trailer's hooked up, the truck is idling. Let's go drag this thing out. first time I saw the car, we're walking through this very, very dimly lit basement over here that you're about to see in a little bit. And I'll be honest, I don't even know the actual condition of the car. It's been parked, like we said, for 26 years, I think he said, and the windows are down, and in fact, there's foot marks. Somebody's walked across the hood of the car doing something up in the rafters of this place. So it's going to be pretty interesting to just really see what exactly it is that we're working on here. And but I that jazzes me up, man. I think that's one of the coolest things about this effort that we're doing is we're taking something, pulling it out of long-term hibernation, seeing what it really is, and then seeing just how nice we can make this thing without reinventing the wheel. So if you follow any of our content, you know that we work on a wide array of things, right? And but we do work on a lot of European stuff simply because they clean up really, really nicely. So when I was first talking to Tom about cleaning something, he didn't even really think about this specific car. He just, I guess his mind didn't go there. We were talking about a couple of other, we're going. Hold on, Miller. She's in tow mode. Let the big girl eat. When we came to the car, he was telling me a little bit of history that we're gonna get into. We're gonna have Tom actually explain some of that, but a little precursor to that, this was the first new car that he had purchased, and he used it when he was starting his business running PR for NASCAR. And hopefully he'll get into the story and tell us a little bit, but he said that he would take this car because he couldn't afford plane tickets when he started his business to drive or to fly to all the NASCAR tracks. So he would drive this car to all the NASCAR tracks in between, you know, I mean, if you follow NASCAR, it's like, you know, one of the longest seasons other than hockey. And like dudes are just on the road all the time, and that's where all the miles were piled on this car. And I just think it's such a cool story and a cool crossover to who Tom is, what he was when he started, and what he's become. And this car kind of symbolizes all of those things, and it's just a really special car. How you doing, buddy? How was your nice cold weekend?
Oh, it was cold.
Yeah, it was nice, right?
So you're finally here to pick up the Volkswagen?
We're here, buddy.
Yeah. Couldn't you have done this in June when it was warm out?
I probably could have, Tom, but no one's ever accused me of being bright.
So I got to tell you, I'm somewhat embarrassed. You know, here's the Barnfind hunter who travels around the country looking for barn finds that people have. And you know, I always look for stories, right?
Right.
But back home in a warehouse, I have my own barn finds, and I'm kind of like, wow.
We're Barnfind hunting the Barnfind hunter.
Yeah. And,
say that 3 times fast.
And I have, you know, a story with this car too. So, you know, all I am is like one of you guys.
One of the coolest parts that I feel, Tom, is this building and this environment that we're in right now. But I'm not going to lie, I am completely lost. I have no idea where we're at. We might be in Michigan by now because I feel like we've been walking for a while. So where exactly is the car?
Well, it's in that region.
Oh.
But you can't get there from here, okay? So we have to kind of walk around. And then we have to clear that stuff to remove the car. I don't have the only car in this warehouse. One of the people who rents a spot here, this is his English taxi. It's in Austin. You know, what year, I don't know. It looks pretty sound, but
it looks original paint.
I'd say it's original paint, yeah.
Dude, how rad is that?
So North Carolina, so this was on the road in 2004. So it's been off the road for 20 years.
Pretty impressive though, 2004. What I love about these cars, like look at all this just attention to detail, you know, just all of this bright work is just, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, come on, we're not here to look at this.
All right, so we found the car, and it happens to be parked next to this killer bimmer. But now we have to figure out how to unpack this stuff to be able to get the car out the entry door. So I think we're going to speed this footage up a little bit, but we're going to get to work here. So after Tom and I had established that he most likely had something that we could find, he was really interested in one of these Datsuns. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's tucked back there, and it's literally in the bowels of this huge, huge warehouse. So Tom's taking us, and we're snaking our way through this beautiful mill that's just absolutely amazing. If you haven't been here before, seriously, check out the Gibson Mill in Concord, North Carolina. It's an awesome place. So as we start walking through, he's showing me this Datsun 510 behind us, and I see this little GTI sitting here, and I couldn't think of anything else other than, dude, Tom, this is what we need to be doing, man. This is the car. And so after I'd asked him a couple of preliminary questions about what the car was, he started telling me this story. And of course, Tom being, an amazing storyteller to begin with, I was like, this is exactly where we need to be. So fast forward, that brings us to where we're at today, uncovering this car. And as Tom had mentioned, it's so ironic that we are Barnfind hunting on the Barnfind Hunter. And so if you're a car enthusiast, your lifelong goal is to be part of an initiative like this, to engage with other like-minded people that like the same type of stuff that you do, that also have this type of story that you can help bring to the forefront. And I feel like that's what we're doing today. And I can't wait to get this car, one, out into the sunlight, two, to get it back and start dry ice cleaning on it to show what we're able to do in a natural preservation standpoint without using any water, any chemicals, having any type of secondary waste like other traditional cleaning methods. So I'm really jazzed up about this opportunity, and I think it doesn't get any cooler than an early GTI. This thing's so rad. So as we get ready to push this thing out, one of the things that trips me out the most is the driver's side window has been down on this car since I don't even know when. Tom, when did you say this thing was parked here? It was in 2004, 18 years ago. And the interior on this thing is so pristine, other than a little tear in one of the bolsters. And the other funny thing is there's somebody literally walked across the hood of this car to service something up above it. And so we're going to be pulling this thing out for the first time in 18 years. And the evidence on this thing is just plastered all over it. So I think what we're going to do is, we have no idea, but we're going to start pushing. We're going to try to push this halfway up there, move that, then do one of these numbers, push that over there, and then we're going to just try to get that out there. What do you think, Tom?
I think so, yeah. It's interesting. It's going to be like one of those puzzles where as soon as this leaves, those antique people are going to move all their merchandise here. Little by little, all these spots will be taken up with old chairs and tables. It won't be a car place anymore. It'll be an antique furniture place.
It's like an ant colony. They're going to take it back over. So to answer your question, Miller, we really don't have a plan, but we're gonna jump in. We're gonna start pushing. We'll see what happens.
My name is Tom Cotter. If you're unlucky enough, you've seen me on my YouTube series put up by Haggerty called Barnfind Hunter. And in that series, I travel around the country looking for old cars. I don't buy them because, I'd have to find another place to live if I wanted to buying all those cars. But my wife lets me go out and look at them. And so we travel around the country many times in a 39 Ford Woody that I have and just knock on people's doors and ask about, that old Camaro in the carport, or that row of Volkswagen microbuses back there. So I find it almost embarrassing that here's the Barnfind Hunter, whose literal career is finding old cars, and I have my own Barnfind hunting story regarding this car behind me. I was hired to work at Charlotte Motor Speedway in 1985, and so my wife and I packed up our belongings on Long Island and moved south. I was a Ford salesman, so before I left the Ford dealership, I sold myself a car. It was a black Ford Escort with no air conditioning, which in New York is a fine car. But you buy a black car with no air conditioning and you move to North Carolina, and suddenly that's not such a good car anymore. So my wife drove that car to work for a year down here. I had the pace car, right? I worked at the Speedway. I had air conditioning. And she suffered through that car in 100-degree days and stuff. You had to buy a new car. So in '86, it's time to buy a new car. The black car is not going to cut anymore. And I've been reading Car and Driver, Road and Track, Auto Week, all the magazines, and I was pretty high on Volkswagens. And so this car we ordered from Volkswagen South in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was in 1986, so it was our second new car. It was an 8-valve. A year later, they came out with the 16-valve. This is the 8-valve car. And it was a fine car, and I was so excited because it was a car that I read about. It was a car that enthusiasts love, a car that magazines love. Sporty and fun, looked good. And so we drove it home from the dealership. And I remember that spongy little, golf ball rubber shift lever in there, and drove it home. And that became my wife's car to drive for years. It had air conditioning. It was white, so it was a cooler car. Well, a few years later, in '89, I opened my own agency, which is called initially Cotter Communications and then Cotter Group, and we were a racing PR marketing agency. And I needed a car because I lost my pace car because I didn't work at the Speedway anymore. And so this car became my car. And I had to travel, for years I had to travel to NASCAR races all over the United States. And because my agency was just starting and because the funds were so low, I couldn't afford to fly like most of my competitors. They got an airplane, they flew there, they get a rental car. You know what, when you have an agency that's just getting off the ground, you don't have that kind of money. So this little car behind me became, a car that I drove, twice a year to Daytona, Pocono, Michigan. I don't think I ever went to Phoenix in this car, and I didn't go to California, I flew. But this car went to NASCAR races. This car shuttled drivers that I worked with, Neil Bonnet, Michael Waltrip, people like that, to the airport. So they could fly home in their private jets, and I had to drive back home from wherever in this Volkswagen. But what a great car, and it served me well. It got a little bit small though, so I wound up buying an Explorer and parking this car in the garage. So we had a new car. Now it was an old car, and we just parked in the garage. I think it might have developed a rod knock, but I don't really remember. I think the clutch started to slip in it, but I just can't get rid of a car like that. So it wound up ultimately in this warehouse in Concord, North Carolina, and here it is. It's gotten grubby. I haven't done anything to preserve it, but it's in pretty darn good shape. And my son's really a car guy too, so this is going to wind up in his garage one day. There's a whole world of Volkswagen enthusiasts that when they see this video, they say, wow, I'd like to have a car like that. It's worth spending some time and money to bring, this guy, I'll say, back from the dead. It's not quite that dramatic, but it's worth spending some time on this thing, because if you drive this to a Cars and Coffee on Saturday morning, you're going to have a really popular car. Car's in better shape than your average coming up with a 40-year-old car. I'm pretty impressed.
It's great, man. I think honestly, it's in really, really nice condition. I mean, this is the benefit of, even though there's some people that may say the car wasn't taken care of because like the window was down, but like to have a vehicle stored inside, out of the elements, in a dry, cooled, otherwise climate controlled facility. This is what happens. This car is so well preserved, and it makes our job so much easier because we're just going to go through and bring back the natural presentation of this, but it is absolutely rock solid. And this is why, kids, always keep your toys stored inside. Don't let them sit outside. This is what it's going to look like after 40 years. Well, got it outside. It's now on the trailer. I'm thoroughly impressed with the condition. You?
You know, it's been a long time since I've even paid attention to this car, and I'm falling in love with it all over again.
Good. That's the beautiful thing about cars. They have a way of invoking emotion and bringing us back to a certain time and place, and that's what I think is so special about the Barnfind Hunter. What you're doing there with your show with Haggerty, and now what we're able to to do here with this GTI. So stay tuned. We're gonna get this in the shop tonight. We're gonna start cleaning up a few little areas probably later on in the week, and I'll give you a buzz and have you come over to the shop, and you can run the gun a little bit, and we'll clean some different areas.
Can I close this episode?
By all means, sir.
Happy hunting.